my name is JoJo and this is JoJo Budgets. This channel focuses on my family's journey to financial freedom. And just an introduction to my family, we are a two-income household. I am married and we have 3 kids. My husband and I both get paid on the same week and every other week, so we get 2 paychecks every month. We do a paycheck-by-paycheck budget, and we also do a zero-based budget. We are new budgeters. In yesterday's video, I discussed our debt confession and our debt-free journey, and we actually really started working the budget system around September last year. So you'll see a lot of the items I used are things that I've either created or are repurposing in my home until I get a better grasp on what things work best for me. Yesterday I'd mentioned that I was going to be getting the Papermate felt tip pens, and I was so excited they did arrive. I had been using the Big Intensity Ultrafine and they were just tearing through the whiteout, but I think these are going to work great. I am left-handed, so I don't think they're going to smudge or anything, so I will be using these in today's video. And what we're going to be doing today is the Paycheck 1 budget for the month of July. I like to do my budget forecast a week in advance so that every dollar has a job before the money even hits the bank. So that is where we are going to get started. I'm going to get you guys zoomed in and we'll start with the calendar. Alright, so here we are with the monthly calendar view. So this is where I like to start with my paycheck budget. It just gives me a nice visual of what the month's going to look like along with our paychecks and when they're deposited. So this, don't mind the poor calendar. It took a hit. I had a bit of a technical difficulty this morning. Gave me quite a scare. I've only had 1 cup of coffee so far, so it's a bit too much to be dealing with first thing in the morning, but I'm on my 2nd cup, so I think we'll be okay. So bear with me, but I'm about halfway through my 2nd cup of coffee, so I think we'll be good. So this is a calendar view of the month of July. As I'd mentioned, I do like to set up my budget for my paychecks a week in advance, and so you guys will see those videos a week before the paychecks are expected to be deposited. Just like Dave Ramsey teaches, I think it's important to assign every dollar a job and know where that money's going before it actually gets into your account, and we do also do the zero-based budget. So these calendars, they're a bit small. They weren't created originally for this purpose, but I am repurposing them for the sake of being frugal. We are on a debt-free journey, so we're just kind of reusing a lot of things that I already have throughout the house. But I will say I am enjoying, with the spending money that we're budgeting and that I'm budgeting for myself, I am enjoying buying some of these pens. I love color. I'm considering dabbling in stickers, but as I mentioned yesterday, I'm going to be revamping a budget binder because right now I'm just repurposing one that's kind of falling apart, but I'm going to be revamping a budget binder for you guys, and I'll post a video on that later this year. So for now, we are working with this. And the next step that I do is I fill out this calendar with this bill due dates card. It's just on a note card, again, that I had lying around the house. But as I said, we were new to budgeting back in September is when we started working our way through this. And it was really clunky at first, and trying to figure out assigning every dollar a job before the money comes in was really hard because we didn't even know exactly when all of our bill due dates were. So this has been really helpful. If you find that you're struggling with something like that, I would suggest putting something together like this. They do have really cute ones that you can add to like the Erin Condren planners and the Happy planners. But for now, this does the job, and I did add a little pop of color just to make it a little more fun. So what I'm going to do now is add all these onto the calendar, and then I will come back once that is done. Okay, so I am back. As you can see, everything is now filled out. I do not have the actual expected amounts for each of these. These are all of the fixed expenses. I only put the fixed expenses on the calendar, but I do have, as a reminder for myself when I'm filling out the budget sheet, a list of what the expected fixed expenses are for each bill. I just felt that when I was doing it in the past, it was making this too busy. When I do make a new calendar for my budget binder next year, I may consider that because I am planning on making a bigger calendar. So we will see. All right, so next what we're going to do, following the same principles from the Budget Mom, I think she's the one that really created the paycheck by paycheck budget as far as like highlighting each one, as far as I know, but I do really enjoy doing that. So that is what I'm going to do right now on here. I'm going to use the color purple for this, for paycheck number 1. It's my favorite color. We are just going to put a happy cloud over paycheck number 1. I just realized I had a Bob Ross moment there. Okay, there will be no drawing or painting on this channel. Only highlighting. Okay, so I went ahead and highlighted these blue. These bills you can see came before paycheck 1 was deposited. And if you go to the month of June that I put together earlier this month, you can see that I have the bills for July 1st and July 2nd noted on the June calendar to have just a single snapshot of it, because of this is paycheck number 2 for the month of June listed here, and it is covering all of these bills, including ones going into July. So one thing you may notice when you are setting up your paychecks and assigning bills for them to cover is that some bills are heavier, or you have more bills that are more expensive on certain sides of the month than others. There's a couple things you can do using the system. The one that we use is a rollover system. So typically paycheck 1, we zero it out, and whatever money's left over at the end of all of our expenses, we roll over into paycheck number 2, and then we save our zero-based budget where we take whatever money's left over and throw it at debt in addition to our snowball. We save that for the closeout at the end of the month. And I will be showing you guys how I do that next week. I'm going to be closing out my paycheck number 2 budget for the month of June and show you how I use the money left over from that paycheck to pay off debt. But for paycheck number 1, it will be rolled over. Another thing you can do is when you're highlighting, so if maybe your bills are heavier towards the end of the month, which usually they are, because that's when I feel like mortgages, car payments, things like that are due, and they usually fall on paycheck number 2 because of your first paycheck for the month usually isn't deposited until later in the week after you're a few days into the week, as you can see here. So what you can do is, say for paycheck number 2 up here, you could highlight kind of like what we did, but you could highlight it even into, like for paycheck number 1, if paycheck number 2 has a lot of bills it has to cover, you can use paycheck number 1 and highlight some of these smaller bills, even if they fall into the technical week for paycheck number 2. Either way, find a system really that works best for you, because really it is your budget. So if it's not working for you, then it's really not working. Finances are so personal. What's shown in the videos are just tools to help you get started on your journey. So for me, having done this already, I mean, I wouldn't say that I am a pro by any means, but I do know that paycheck 1 can cover all of these bills from Friday, July 3rd until Thursday, July 16th. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of those in purple. And I would love to hear in the comments below anybody's journey, any sort of budgeting. That's really what got me inspired to start a channel. Was I just loved people's stories. It was really amazing, a lot of your guys' journeys. So I'd love to hear them in the comments below. Okay, so all of the bills that paycheck number 1's going to cover are highlighted in purple. So that is the calendar. Next, what I'm going to do is pull in my budget sheet, where we pull all of this information into one sheet that we're going to use to help us throughout the next 2 weeks. All right, so here we are with the paycheck budgeting sheet that I will fill out for paycheck number 1. And a lot of the sheets you guys will see me use are ones I've kind of Frankensteined by gaining inspiration from other YouTube budgeters. And I just kind of pulled bits and pieces of things that I felt really worked for our family. So to start filling out the sheet, I like to match the color of my pen to the highlighter color that I used, because why not? That makes it a little more fun. I do also enjoy coloring. Thankfully, I have young kids, so I can do it with them all the time. But if anyone else here enjoys coloring too, let me know, because I mean, it's fun, right? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I have this calendar that I use to help me fill this out. So we have paycheck number 1, and you guys, I am really enjoying these pens from Papermate. And I like to put the days it's going to cover, so it's going to cover from July 3rd to July 16th. Next up is income number 1, and like I mentioned, it is direct deposited and it's on a Thursday, so I expect it to come in on the 2nd, and I expect it to be $2,800. And I do underestimate these. I would suggest that as well, to underestimate your income and overestimate your expenses to give yourself a bit of a cushion. Oh geez, there's an extra 0 there. I'm a little too excited. Okay, you know what? Now's a good time for us to try the Papermate with whiteout. Oh, this is much nicer. Okay, so these are our expected incomes for the first week. I'm not expecting any rollover, and I'm not expecting any extra, but I would welcome it. So I'm going to go ahead and put 0 here. So that puts our expected total income as $3,800. Next, what I'm going to do is use this calendar to help me know what to fill out for my fixed expenses. And then I have my note card that has my expected amounts here. I do also want to let you guys know that I have been using this as a utility bill tracker. And you know, because if your water and your electricity and gas varies month to month and based on seasons, we have all seasons here where I live. Our sewer has been the same, which I am finding that out. But I'm going to use this to help me put my expected amounts for my utilities starting next year, so I can have a better prediction for what the bill's going to be. For now, we're going to go ahead and get this filled out. I'm going to do that off camera just to save some time, and then I'll come back once I have that filled out. Alright, so here I have everything filled out for my fixed expenses and their expected amounts for paycheck number 1. And next is the total. So these add up to $2,757.32. Next is our variable expenses, budgeting for those. So this is where I feel like a budget can get very personal. I know when I explain my family, it might not be relatable to some people, but really for the budget, it's so personal anyways. It's more so using the tools that you see in the videos to work best for your situation. And you know, most people watching a budget video, they have some form of income, they have some form of bills, and they have some form of variable expenses like food, gas, and spending that they would like to have, general spending. So for the variable expenses, one thing I would say is just figure out what you are spending your money on and adjust your variable expenses to meet those needs. So for instance, if you have hobbies, there's things you enjoy, so even pulling it out from, we have spending for everyone in our family, but let's say you really enjoy beauty products, you would maybe have a separate subcategory in variable expenses for beauty. Or if you have a hobby such as hiking or mountain biking, motorcycles, things like that, and you want to pull that out separately from your variable expenses, because if you want to make sure you give yourself a healthy budget diet, something that's sustainable, that you can also keep track of week to week, because you don't want to be overspending on those categories, but you also don't want to be overly restricting yourself. So that is something I would suggest as you're going through. And your budget, when you do it, it's not fixed. So you're checking up on it every week and at the end of the month, and you can adjust it to meet your needs. So first, groceries. This was a hard area for us to reel in. I do budget $400 for our family every 2 weeks. Mind you, I also have a teenage boy in the house, so this can be hard to stick to. And we're doing a lot better. We still go over budget almost every month, but I will say, compared to what we had been doing, like Costco is my kryptonite, you guys. I'll go in there with a list and I'll be walking by and I'll be like, oh, my kids would love this. Oh, that looks so good. We need some more granola bars. We need all the chips. And before you know it, I've spent $400. And if I go to Costco 2 times a week, or 2 times a month, that's my entire grocery budget. And I haven't even gone to the grocery store. So this is something we really had to reel in. I was also including eating out in groceries, and so that made it hard to stick to our budget. And so since pulling that out, it's been easier, because we do enjoy eating out. It's nothing fancy, you know, like we'll get a pizza or get my kids a Happy Meal, something like that. But being able to set aside a certain amount of money so that we can still enjoy our lives. Okay, so we budget $100 for eating out and entertainment in this household. That does also include our pets. We have a lot of different kinds of pets that have different needs throughout the month. So I was noticing last month that we kept going over budget because we were including pets as well in our whole household budget. So I did increase that from $100 to $125. And I think that will be more reasonable. Next up is gas. I did also increase the budget for that for the next 2 weeks, just with the states opening up. My husband and I each get a spending money of $40. The kids each get $20. And this isn't, we're not handing them $20 in cash, but they, you know, want little things if they're going out with friends, stuff like that. And then unbudgeted, this is $0, but inevitably throughout the month something gets spent through this category. So these add up to $915. Now, what we will do is using this handy dandy equation right here to figure out what our rollover is going to be, since we are budgeting for paycheck number 1. So what we will do is take our expected income, which is $3,800, minus our expected fixed expenses, $2,757.32, minus our variable expenses, $915. So we are expecting to roll over $127.68. And what you'll see me do when I'm doing my paycheck budget for paycheck number 1 is under this rollover / extra, I'll circle rollover, and then in the expected column, I'll write this $127.68. All right, next up, I have the sinking funds. You guys, I am obsessed with sinking funds. They are my new favorite thing. But I am going to be doing an entire separate video on those. That will be next week. And I will show you guys how I use the sinking funds table on my budget sheets to help me reconcile the sinking funds from my transaction log when I do my weekly check-in with my end of the month closeout of my sinking funds. So that will be on next Friday. I will show you, be posting that video. But these will be sinking funds for week 1 and week 2. And I am also going to be posting a video showing you how I do a week 4 check-in, as I'd mentioned. And so you can see how I pull out the sinking funds from my transaction log to put it on the budget sheet. Okay, and then at the bottom here, we have the budget table, the debt table. And I'll link my debt confession video below if you want to see more about these debts and where we are with them. But I do a quarterly debt assessment. It's a lot more detailed. This is just to give me a snapshot of how our numbers are progressing and to keep us on task with those, I guess. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly fill out all of this info, and then I'll come back and talk more about how I use this table. All right, so I have the debt table filled out. The interest rates on each debt. The student loan number 1 is a part of the CARES Act. It's a federal loan, so I put 0, but what the actual interest rate is beside it. And then the same with the minimum payment. It is currently our snowball focus. So you will see under the snowball section, our snowball is up to $1,449. And that is money rolled in from security equipment that we'd had, and a home equity line of credit that we paid off as well. And then for the timeshare, the minimum payment is usually $242.79, but the balance left to pay is only $160.16. So we took the difference because we don't want any penny that's meant for debt to not be going towards debt. We are laser focused on this debt. That was rolled into this snowball as well. So our total minimum payments, we're expecting to be paid this month towards debt, our beginning balances for this month, and our snowball amount. So as the bills come through, you can see that my student loans and the timeshare are all going to be coming through on my fixed expenses. So here's student loan number 2. When that bill clears for this paycheck, I will come down to this table and update the amounts, the ending balance. It's only when that bill is assigned to that paycheck. And then you can see the student loan number 1 for its expected amount. It is the snowball plus the minimum payment for the total expected to be paid towards this. All right, you guys, that is going to wrap up our budget video. If you enjoyed the content of the video, please give it a like. I am going to be posting 2 videos next week. One on Thursday, that's my weekly check-in, my week 4 check-in. I'm wrapping up the budget for the month of June, doing the zero-based budget, taking the money that's left over and throwing that at debt in addition to our snowball. And then on Friday, I'm going to be going over my favorite new thing is sinking funds and how I use my budget sheets to help me close out my sinking funds at the end of the month. If you are enjoying the content of this channel, please hit the subscribe button. And thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I'll see you next week.